You think you are paying for convenience. You think that saving 5 minutes by ordering premium food from a glowing piece of glass or using a one-click checkout is a sign of modern success. Right. You believe that automating your life makes you efficient. You are completely blind to the clinical reality. You are not buying back your time. You are paying an autonomy tax. And your biological desire for absolute comfort is exactly why you will never, ever escape the middle class. Society conditions you to believe that friction is the enemy. They tell you that a frictionless life is a wealthy life. That is a predatory engineered illusion. The corporate system realized decades ago that convincing your logical brain to part with its money was entirely too difficult. So they stopped selling the product and they started selling the lack of friction. In the next few minutes, we are going to dismantle the highly optimized architecture of the laziness trap. We will expose how server farms in Silicon Valley run real-time psychological experiments on your prefrontal cortex to bypass your impulse control. We are going to break down the dark patterns of the digital economy. You will learn the behavioral economics of the pain of paying, how decoy pricing hacks your sense of value, and why the modern subscription model is a parasitic architecture designed to extract a permanent dividend from your life force. By the end of this clinical breakdown, you will understand why the top 1% deliberately make their own lives financially difficult. And you will learn the exact friction framework you must use to protect your capital from your own biology. You are bleeding wealth through 1,000 invisible cuts. Let us find the knife. To understand why you cannot stop buying things, you must first understand the evolutionary biology of human laziness. Humans are not naturally lazy because we are flawed. We are lazy because for 99% of human history, calories were incredibly scarce. Evolution wired your nervous system to aggressively conserve energy at all costs. If a primitive human burned too much energy hunting and failed, they starved. Your brain is biologically programmed to take the path of absolute least resistance. The architects of the modern financial matrix understand this biological imperative perfectly. They know that your willpower is weak, but your biological drive to conserve energy is practically invincible. So, they weaponized it. They mapped every single point of friction between your desire and your wallet, and they systematically eradicated it. Think about the psychological mechanics of spending money 30 years ago. If you wanted to buy a consumer good, you had to physically stand up. You had to get dressed. You had to drive to a bank. You had to withdraw physical, tangible paper money. You had to drive to a store, find the item, and physically hand your labor represented by that paper cash to another human being. Behavioral economists call this the pain of paying. When you physically hand over cash, the pain center of your brain literally lights up on an MRI scan. Your brain registers the transaction as a loss of vital resources. That friction, that physical pain, was your biological defense mechanism against poverty. It forced your rational brain to pause and ask, is this trade actually worth it? The system has surgically removed your brakes. Now look at the modern architecture of digital consumption. Apple Pay, saved credit card details, facial recognition checkouts, one-click buying. The transaction is completely invisible. You do not touch paper. You do not even type numbers. You double tap the side of a glass screen and the wealth you traded your finite life to acquire simply vanishes into the ether. They have completely decoupled the psychological pain from the transaction. So you do not feel the loss of resources until the end of the month when you check your statement, and by then, the dopamine of the purchase is long gone, leaving you with nothing but anxiety. This is not an accident of technology. It is a highly deliberate, predatory design. When you remove the friction of the transaction, you remove conscious thought entirely. When you are tired after a brutal 60-hour work week, your prefrontal cortex, the logical, calculating part of your brain, is completely depleted. You have zero cognitive bandwidth left to defend yourself. So when the food delivery app sends you a perfectly timed push notification at 7 in the evening displaying a high-definition image of a meal, your primitive amygdala takes over. The app already has your address. It already has your credit card. You press a single button. You surrender $30 for a meal you could have cooked for 4. You tell yourself you are buying convenience. You are not. You are financing your own domestication. Rewind this next part. This is how they hack your perception of reality. The eradication of friction is only the baseline of the trap. The real extraction happens through dark patterns. Dark patterns are user interfaces meticulously designed by behavioral psychologists to trick your nervous system into making irrational financial choices. Let us examine the clinical manipulation of decoy pricing. When you look at a software subscription, you rarely see one option. You see 3. Option A is the basic package for $10. Option C is the premium package for $30. But option B is the trap. Option B is $25, but it offers almost the exact same features as option C. Your logical brain looks at this setup and thinks, well, option B is a terrible deal. For just $5 more, I can get the premium package. You feel like a genius. You feel like you beat the system. You are completely blind to the fact that the system just successfully manipulated you into spending $30 when you originally only intended to spend $10. Option B was never meant to be purchased. It was a cognitive decoy, placed there solely to anchor your perception of value and make the most expensive option look like a mathematical compromise. They map your cognitive biases and turn them into profit margins. They use artificial scarcity. They put a red countdown timer on the checkout page, triggering a primal panic in your nervous system. In the ancestral environment, scarcity meant death. The flashing red numbers hijack your evolutionary fear of missing out, forcing you to act impulsively before your logic can intervene. They inject hidden fees at the absolute final second of checkout, exploiting your sunk cost fallacy. You'll already spent 5 minutes filling out the form, so your brain decides it is easier to just pay the extra $15 processing fee than to abandon the cart and start over. You are a host for parasitic finance. We must confront the darkest architecture of modern engineered laziness, the subscription model. In the past, corporations had to convince you to buy their product every single time you needed it. They had to earn your capital repeatedly. The modern economy realized this was inefficient. Why fight for your money every month when they can simply trick you into granting them direct, permanent access to your bank account? They sell you on the illusion of micropayments. It is only $9 a month for the streaming service. It is only $15 a month for the premium app. It is only $12 a month for the exclusive content. Your brain, which is terrible at calculating long-term compound mathematics, processes these as insignificant expenses. But subscriptions are not expenses. They are a parasitic dividend. You are allowing a corporation to extract a permanent yield from your life force. If you have $100 in monthly subscriptions, you do not just lose $100. Mathematically, according to the 4% withdrawal rule of wealth building, you need $30,000 of invested capital sitting in a portfolio just to generate that $100 a month. Let me repeat that brutal math. You must hoard $30,000 of hard-earned wealth just to sustain $100 of frictionless digital entertainment. And the system protects this parasite with absolute ruthlessness. Entering the subscription requires one click. But look at the architecture of cancellation. It is a psychological labyrinth. You have to navigate through 5 different hidden menus. You have to read confusing double negatives. They force you to click, yes, I want to lose my benefits, instead of a simple cancel. They introduce extreme predatory friction to the exit door. They know that your biological laziness will kick in. You will get frustrated after 3 minutes. Tell yourself you will cancel it next month, and the parasite gets to feed on your bank account for another 30 days. The true cost of comfort is your dictatorial freedom. You think this is just about budgeting. You think the worst consequence of this engineered laziness is a slightly smaller savings account. You are missing the macro reality. You are not just losing capital. You are bleeding your autonomy. Every time you choose the frictionless path, every time you let a dark pattern dictate your spending, and every time you allow an automatic withdrawal to drain your checking account, you are surrendering your cognitive sovereignty. You are letting external algorithms operate your financial life on autopilot. When your baseline lifestyle relies entirely on expensive, frictionless conveniences, your cost of survival skyrockets. You become a highly paid slave to your salary. You cannot take massive asymmetrical risks. You cannot start the business. You cannot walk away from a toxic, soul-crushing corporate job because you absolutely need the next paycheck to fund the invisible web of microtransactions that keep your comfortable life afloat. You are trading the finite, irreplaceable hours of your actual life for cheap, engineered ease. You can make $500,000 a year, but if your spending is entirely automated by corporate traps, you have zero leverage. The system loves a comfortable earner because a comfortable earner never rebels. A comfortable earner never builds an empire. A comfortable earner just quietly pays their bills until the day they die. Discipline is weak. Architecture is invincible. The top 1%, the individuals who actually control the mechanics of global wealth, do not operate in the frictionless matrix. They do not rely on having more willpower than you. They understand that against billion-dollar algorithms and biological laziness, willpower eventually drops to zero. The elite defend their capital by doing the exact opposite of what society tells them to do. They deliberately introduce extreme predatory friction back into their own financial lives. They practice the architecture of the pause. If the system wants you to buy instantly, your ultimate weapon is time. They enforce a mandatory 72-hour waiting period for any non-essential purchase. When you force a wedge of time between the biological impulse and the digital transaction, you break the engineered dopamine loop. You give your prefrontal cortex time to wake up. And 99% of the time, after 3 days, the burning desire to click buy completely evaporates. You realize the desire was implanted by the interface. The elite delete the saved credit card information from every single website and application on their phone. They force themselves to physically stand up, find their wallet, pull out the plastic card, and manually type the 16 digits every single time they want to buy something online. They rebuild the pain of paying. They make consumption intentionally annoying. Let us confront the final choice. They practice structural allocation. The exact second capital enters their ecosystem, it is violently redirected by automated software into index funds, real estate, and hard assets. They automate their wealth creation, but they make their consumption manual. The middle class does the exact opposite. They make their consumption automatic and leave their wealth creation to manual willpower. That is why the middle class loses. You are standing at a critical psychological crossroads. You can close this video, sink back into your comfortable chair, and let the algorithms continue to harvest your capital. You can keep paying the autonomy tax, functioning as a perfectly predictable, highly profitable data point in a system designed to extract your energy. Or you can step completely out of the matrix. You can reject the illusion of frictionless living. You can murder your own biological laziness. You can cancel the parasitic subscriptions, delete the saved data, and intentionally make your life financially difficult today so that it becomes financially unbreakable tomorrow. This is not about being cheap. It is about dictatorial control. Sovereignty is the silent superpower that separates the manipulated masses from the truly free. The moment you take back control of the friction in your life, the algorithms lose all their power over you. You stop being a domesticated consumer and you start being the architect of your own reality. If you want to master the true clinical psychology of money and learn the exact frameworks the elite use to protect their wealth from systemic manipulation, subscribe to this channel. The system is counting on your laziness. Disappoint them. Check the links in the description to arm yourself with the tools of absolute financial defense. Stop paying for your own cage. Start building your empire.